Good day. I am Professor Nathaniel Burke from the University of Farmers, where agents' minds are cultivated like a plump butternut squash. And this is a pop quiz. What is the best way to save money on car insurance? Talk to a farmer's agent, whose mind I have personally honed into a tempered steel blade of cost cutting, or do it yourself. Solo. All by yourself. Wits against the world. No compass. In the snow. Just out there. No help whatsoever. Perhaps that was a leading question. The answer is the finely honed farmer's agent.
Chat with a farmer's insurance agent to see how you can save. We are insurance.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Call 256-216-1517 today to speak with Ken Hanna and find out how farmers can help you save time and money on all your insurance needs, whether auto, home, life, or small business. Now located at 810 Highway 72 West in Athens. Here's what folks are saying about the Good Time Gold Midday Show.
You guys know the songs that were hits when I was growing up in the 60s.
Brings back a lot of memories that I had when I was a kid.
Keep playing the great songs you do.
Absolutely, you're playing the greatest music of all time.
I love it.
We appreciate all the encouraging feedback you've given us about the show, and as long as you like it, we'll keep doing it. Playing fun songs from the 50s and 60s on the Good Time Gold Midday Show, weekdays from 11 till 2 on 1080 WKAC. All right, we're back with the Dan Williams Show here on WKAC.
Thank you, Tim. We're back with Mark Davis, who's the Communications Director of the Alabama Family Rights Association, and family law attorney Austin Burdick, and State Senator Paul Sanford from the 7th District in Madison County. Paul, we were talking about the number. You know, you get quite a few calls and contacts from people regarding custody, and I do too. I'm getting more and more of that, and I'm even getting a lot of calls from grandparents. That's another field, I suppose, involved in custody. But there's so many grandparents now that are feeling left out, you know, when custody is being decided. But and another thing, you touched on the fact that there's bankruptcy involved in some cases we were talking about a minute ago. And that's one of the things that I get from some of the people that contact me is I've spent everything I've got. They don't have any, and they still don't have custody or they don't have rights.
Yeah, it's a huge issue, and what I'm getting from a lot of people is they go through the process, and it's not just 3 months and you're done. This is a lifetime endeavor for many families that end up battling year after year over simple issues, whether it's visitation rights, whether it's bills, whether it's the treatment of the child, the mistreatment of their child. And I've got multiple parents that have contacted me in the past 6 months that are actually looking at relinquishing their parental rights because they've been fighting inside the court system for so long that they feel like they've exhausted all their personal resources, and they're either in bankruptcy or on the verge of bankruptcy. They're fighting, and they're not allowed to see their child because the other parent is not responding to the court orders in multiple instances. And they're like, I keep fighting and fighting, yet I'm not even allowed to be a parent to my own child. And every time they get one step forward, then the other parent wants to bring another court order, bring them back into court, and then if they lose, sometimes they're asked to pay for the ex-spouse's court fees, and it's just they keep getting piled on bills after bills, and it's an exhausting situation. It's emotionally troubling, not just for the parents but for the children. And you've got parents that have reached the point that say, I think the best thing for my child at this point is for me to absolutely step out of their lives, and that's because of the Alabama court system and the treatment there. That's the last thing that we need in Alabama, is for the court system ending up putting roadblocks in front of families, so parents are determining that their last best choice is to just relinquish their parental rights. And so we have to do something to try to address this.
Now, Austin, in light of what Senator Paul just said, and I think that from what I know about some custody cases, that really gets down to it. Judges know that's going on. I mean, judges, they're there with that going in front of them. I mean, it's just the judges need to do something.
Yeah, it's. I think it's part of the culture of being a judge, though, that creates some of this problem. A lot of what they try to do is judges try to avoid problems.
Sure.
And sometimes, because, for lack of a better term, for lack of leadership, these judges will continually punt these cases. They'll make modest rulings. They won't address all of the issues. They won't get down to the point of what's going on. And they also struggle with the fact that, in a lot of ways, these problems continue to grow and develop because what they're being asked to do as a judge is to be the stand-in parent for this child. They're usurping the authority of these parents to take care of their child and make basic decisions. It's a little bit unsettling to go into a courtroom and say, okay, let's see what the judge wants me to do, whether or not my kid should participate in extracurricular activities. Let's see what the judge should say as to whether or not my kid should go to church every Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Let's see what the judge says. None of that makes sense to anybody who's outside of that courtroom. And none of it makes sense to the people who are in the courtroom. And it makes the judge uncomfortable. But the judge gets so frustrated, he throws up his hands and he says, these two people aren't getting along, so I'm just going to do it for them. And the problem is it doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't actually solve the problem for those children or those families. And the problem is we give that discretion to a judge, and they don't need the discretion to make those decisions. A judge can't do that to the senator and can't do it to me. I'm married and have 4 kids. But in our legal system, we've created a tiered system of parents. Tier 1 are parents who have never been divorced, and they have all the constitutional rights, every bit of them. Now, if you go to court, and then there's a custody determination, one's the primary custodian, one's not. The one that's the primary custodian, they're tier 2, because they still have to do whatever the judge says. They can't make parental decisions on their own. And tier 3 is the last guy out there or the last lady out there that gets to see their kids every other weekend. And they can't do anything without permission from the other parent and without permission from the court. And that's not how families can function. It completely upsets the balance of power in the family. It gives authority to the kids. It gives authority to everybody but the parents.
Okay, now Austin, you're a young man. I'm not sure if you have a family, but
I've got 4 kids.
Okay, you got 4 kids, and you and your spouse live together, and you have 4 children, and there's not any problem. But in the event there was a problem between you and your wife, and it came to separation or support, your children, your 4 children that you have right now in a good situation, they would come under a court in Bessemer. I mean, does that make you feel good knowing that if anything happens? I mean, what's your feelings toward that?
Well, it's very unsettling. Well, first of all, let me say this. My wife's perfect, and separation is not an option.
She must be listening today.
Yeah. I tricked her into marrying me 14 years ago, and she's stuck. She can't get out. Now, as far as the idea of having to go through divorce court in Bessemer or really anywhere else, but I'll just say this. We'll probably be moving in less than a year anyway. I've tried to address the issues and some of the problems in Bessemer by, trying to be active in the community and get things fixed. But there's a sense of complacency that's difficult to overcome. Now, it is very disturbing to think that all the privileges and the wonderful things that I enjoy right now as a parent, that most of those privileges would be trampled if my wife filed for divorce, to be honest with you. I see my kids every night. I go to work because I love my kids and my family, and I'm in a hurry to come home every time when I come home. Mm-hmm. I'm 6'11". I'm kind of a tall guy, and my 4 kids think I'm a jungle gym. and every night they're crawling all over me.
Yeah. But I suppose that's why a lot of situations you see one parent take off with the kids sometimes. Rather than go through the situation that they know they got to go through, I suppose it makes sense to cut and run, to do that, which brings on all other kind of problems. But that's probably what they're thinking.
It's not hard to find empathy for folks in that situation. I mean, I just dealt with a case just this last week where the case was filed in Alabama, but nobody lived here. And basically one parent was trying to kidnap the children from the other parent when they had a previous separation agreement.
Yeah.
It was a complete train wreck, but we finally established the jurisdiction of the court, and we finally got those children back in the hands of their parent.
Yeah. And how long did that take for that train wreck to? There was a parent there that didn't see the children for how long, because Alabama never had jurisdiction to begin with. It was several weeks.
Yeah, it took several weeks, and sadly, unfortunately, my client, before she approached me, she approached another attorney, and his advice to her was, well, just move to Alabama and fight the case.
Yeah.
You know, because he could have made a bigger retainer. My first advice was, no, you need to go where the jurisdiction is and do this right.
I'm not sure. You know, I thank God I've never been involved in a divorce case between my wife and I or our children. We've never had that. And but I remember this event, and it was so awful. But I was in a court one time, and there were numerous people present, and it was about custody, and it was about child support and all this. And you know what the judge did? He ordered everyone in that courtroom to go out in the hall and come to some kind of agreement and come back in. And that was like 50 people. And, 50 people having discussion side by side. We got a break, and we'll be back. But I never will forget that. The animosity was in that hall today.